This came up yesterday, a tunnel from Russia to Alaska. That's an interesting. What do you think of that, Mr. President? Do you have any ideas? How do you like that idea?
I'm not happy with this.
I don't think you're going to like it. I don't think he liked it. I don't think he liked it.
I met with President Zelensky, as you know, today, and we had a very good meeting, very cordial meeting. In my opinion, they should stop the war immediately. You go by the battle line wherever it is, otherwise it's too complicated. You'll never be able to figure it out. You stop at the battle line, and both sides should go home, go to their families, stop the killing, and that should be it.
We talked about it a little bit, didn't say much, but I do say to you, you know, we need Tomahawks for the United States of America, too. We have a lot of them, but we need them. I mean, we can't deplete for our country. So, you know, they're very vital, they're very powerful, they're very accurate, they're very good, but we need them too.
О, нифига, а что в одном месте только?
Угу. Это не шахет.
Такой заряд. О! Слушай, це не это, це як на шахті щось. Це не прилітають. Це щось на шахті, не на заводі случилось. Та це, ну, смотрим, це... Та страшне усе, воно в одному місці, поняла?
Well, hello, that's me again. Today is October 18th, 2025. It is Saturday, and happy weekend for everybody. Let me start with the funny things, okay? Because we don't have much fun, don't we, in the last, I don't know, couple of years at least. Because I, for example, constantly embroiled in debunking a just copious amount of BS which is being pumped into the ears and minds of Western public primarily. Russians obviously are well aware of the situation, for example, on the fronts of the special military operation. But let's start with the meeting about these Tomahawks. I am getting nauseated from repeating the same thing. There never was a chance for a simple reason, technical one. And we have been through this before. I explained it that if United States obviously wants to provide Tomahawks to Ukraine, they have to provide it together with the B-52 or B-1B Lancer strategic bombers or any other platform which can theoretically launch them. Mk-41s, which are put on chassis and, you know, ambitiously called Typhoon, obviously they have like 3 or 5 of them, and they are all in in Asia. And so what do we have here? First of all, start with what everybody talks about, because Mr. Hegseth, obviously, I mean, everybody jokes, of course, yeah, he's no agent or anything, but as you might expect, everybody says, oh man, Mr. Hegseth, don't, you know what, blow the cover from Russian intelligence in Washington. But truth is, here's what Irish Times actually writes about the situation with his tie. But before we go, this is Russian flag, as you can see yourself. And yeah, and Russians actually, do you know what is the location or basically sequence of the colors from the bottom to the top? It's KGB. In Russian, obviously, it's red, blue, and white. But in Russian, it's красное, голубое, and белое. And so Mr. Hegseth gets into the meeting with Mr. Zelensky together with Mr. Trump. And everybody notices. Look at him. It is a really funny tie which, if, as you can see yourself, two of the sequential Russian flags are there. But yes, we know that both United States and Russia, as very many other countries, they have red, white, and blue sequences in their flags. But this is like, yeah, there are two Russian flags, atop of each other, and what can I say? So it's yeah, I know, it's just ridiculous. And as Irish Times noticed that, yeah, everybody pays attention now to this whole situation because, oh my gosh, how else you can interpret it, and because there are many hysterical people in Ukraine, as you might understand, and that's just the part of the whole situation which is developing around this ridiculous situation with the Tomahawks. And as per Tomahawks, and here is the very important part about this, because you need to read attentively what Mr. Medvedev said. And Mr. Medvedev stated this, and when he says something, he means it, and he is, considering his extremely high level in the political hierarchy in Russia. Here it is. During meeting with the tearful beggar, Trump said an obvious but quite curious thing. Let Russia and Ukraine both declare themselves winners in the conflict. Yes, that often happens after military clashes, but this is not our case. And correct. And this is the thing which I can have to constantly debunk from all kinds of this so-called sources, who are really not sources, be them Western media, which is primarily stuffed with the imbeciles without any principles, or for that matter, real sources or knowledge of the situation, or any kind of other people who, portray themselves as sources and military specialists and sell a copious amount of BS to, obviously, confuse Western public. So, and he says, and it's not just what we need a victory with conditions known to all. That is an axiom, which he says. And here's the most important part, of which we talk non-stop. The point is also that the current Banderite gang will not be recognized as winners at home under any circumstances. And the drug-addicted scoundrel and his comrades understand this perfectly. The loss of territories will not be forgiven not only by the rabid Ukrainian nationalists, but also by political competitors. Therefore, the end of war means the death of the regime. So Trump thesis doesn't work here. Absolutely. Everybody understands that Trump obviously tries to, play whatever he plays always, and obviously coming meeting again in Budapest between Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin, it's good, and people again begin to completely misinterpret what has happened. Although, yes, Vladimir Putin called Mr. Trump prior to visit of Mr. Zelensky to Washington, and whatever has been said there, stop pretending that anybody knows what has been said there. The only thing which we can say with absolute certainty, there was reiteration of the technological issue. And technological issue automatically translates itself into the strategic issue, and the strategic issue is any Tomahawk flies from anywhere to in Russia, Europe ceases to exist, and then United States. Simple as that. But then again, you have to constantly explain to people the larger scheme of things, which they still don't get it. If you go to my blog, I'm fighting for the dear life of mine now, explaining to people who, for some reason, go around the internet, go all those informational dumpsters, pull out this some kind of the idiotic opinions by people who have no clue about anything, about strategic weapons, about strategy, about military doctrines of the states, and they continue to pretend that they know something. They don't. Read my lips. They don't. What we know, that Mr. Trump most likely has been reminded about the responsibility of trying to escalate something. And as you saw yourself in the beginning, Mr. Trump evidently got the message. And so we now have this other, butthurt, complaining, laments, what have you. We have this, suddenly, Trump rejects Zelensky on Tomahawk missiles in tough meeting. Oh, okay, well, we saw Mr. Hegseth actually went with 2 Russian flags. It cannot get any tougher for Mr. Zelensky, obviously. And he left, obviously, he left Washington actually without even leaving or conducting any kind of the press conference, because obviously there's no point of doing this. It's also ridiculous. What can he possibly do about anything? Nothing. And here comes this fundamental issue which we have to continue, and I have to continue, stress non-stop. Only front lines define what is happening in the higher political cabinets and lobbies or corridors up there in the combined West. And suddenly we have Mr. Merz, who was, the rabbit or Sophob. He suddenly talks about, a peaceful solution. And then we have Mr. Zelensky himself. Suddenly he comes out, obviously he repeats the things which Mr. Trump stated, but it's not going to happen. You have to understand, it's not going to happen. Bunch of the UK, French, American, German press will continue to push this stupid point that it might happen. No, is not going to happen. Again, read my lips, because, as already stated, it's not about territory, it's about regime. And we'll talk about the territory of Ukraine. And you saw yourself basically what is happening there is basically complete destruction of the energy infrastructure in Ukraine. And it's probably not even, how to say it, I will abstain for now talking to this. But if we look intensively at the situation at the on this front lines, we start with this. And this is a serious guy, let me tell you. If anybody doesn't understand, he is the deputy commander of the political directorate of the armed forces of Russia. And so he talks about, as you saw yourself in the beginning of this video, that we burn everything that moves. Lieutenant General Avtil Audinov estimated the total losses of the armed forces of Ukraine at 2 million people. The total front line, I stress you, this is what I constantly talk about. Front line, those things which Russians can objectively count and, estimate. The total frontline losses of units controlled by Kyiv may reach 2 million people. This opinion was expressed by the commander of the Akhmat Special Forces, deputy head of the main military political department, it's directorate, of the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation, Avtil Audinov. According to him, there is a zone on the line of contact in the Sumy region where Akhmat artillery and drones burn everything that moves. It happens everywhere, along the whole front line. So, what do? Let's go take a look at the losses. This is the tally today. As you can see yourself, it creeps up a little bit, as I already stated. It's on average 1,500 a day KIAs. And I'm not going to be putting here the videos, which you might go to my blog and take a look at some of those videos. But there are truckload of those videos which demonstrate how even numerically inferior, let's say 2 Russian soldiers, stormtroopers, can mow down the whole squad, dragged and absolutely uncontrolled Ukrainian soldiers. So we're looking at horrific kill ratios. And if people ask me, we're looking at 1 to 20 at least. Somewhere it's 1 to 25, and as you understand, once the standoff weapons begin to factor in, which Russians produce, order of magnitude more than whole NATO combined, United States included, of course. So then suddenly what you see, you have a total destruction of everything what is in there, and Russians don't care anymore, and as they are supposed to be. And so any kind of the offers which they, Mr. Zelensky tries to say that, let's do the truce, as Mr. Trump stated. The Ukrainian leader has said he agrees with US President Donald Trump's proposal for immediate truce with Russia. Well, we have to stop where we are. The president is right, Zelensky told reporters in Washington, D.C. on Friday, adding that the sides could then hammer out the next step towards a peace deal. Yes, both sides have to stop, Zelensky said. No, Russians don't have to. Obviously, there are this propaganda machine which works over time now in combined West, in NATO countries, that somehow Russians are exhausted or something like that. It's just ridiculous, obviously. They lie. That's what they do. They lie. I mean, average American journal and average Western journal is a compulsive lie. People have no principles, no humanity in them. So yeah, they just continue to pour this, BS all over the place. But the point is, obviously, as Mr. Medvedev stated, and I already introduced you to his quotes, he said it's all about regime change. And yes, regime change is coming, and it doesn't matter how it comes. Either Zelensky will be offed by SIS and MI6, who guard him, or by CIA, or by his own Nazis. So it doesn't matter. He is the dead man walking, and so is the regime in Ukraine. And no matter what they do, no matter how they try to present it as some kind of that, oh yeah, we can reach the truth. No, you can't. And so here it is. And I constantly stress, because I'm really getting sick and tired from constantly repeating the same thing, but I have to. It's not about territory. Russians don't care about governing another 19 million of people who are absolutely mad and who hate Russian gods, most of them anyway. So we go to our good friends Marat Khairulin and Colonel Popov and take a look at something which is happening in Kharkiv area. As you can see yourself, what is happening around Volchansk, and you can see the configuration of the front, and Russians continue to go inside Kharkov Oblast. There you go. You look at the scale in the upper right corner for yesterday, and again, keep in mind, this is probably the lag of about 3 days at least. So as you can see yourself, if you put this scale to this basically shaded, pink shaded territories, 4-6 kilometers deep inside, and continue to develop their offensive. And Russians are not in rush. There is no need to be in rush, because if you take a look, for example, at Kupiansk, Kupiansk area, as you can see yourself, the grouping there is completely surrounded now, and it's gonna be dead. It's already being basically killed in industrial quantities. And I'm sorry to say this, obviously it's a horrible thing, it's war, but Russians are breakout everywhere, and it doesn't matter what they will be doing again on the tactical level. They might talk about this idiotic counteroffensive, for example, attack by in battalion tactical group force will be called in Western media and by all American generals as an offensive. I mean, it's going to be just attack. It's going to be obviously, destroyed, as they tried on a number of occasions to do this, but yeah, what can I say? So here it is. Here's this more Kupiansk-Borovaya area, as you can see yourself. So, and yeah, I mean, the fate of Kupiansk is in the front of you. Nothing you can do about it. That's it, especially when considering the overwhelming fire advantage Russians wield against, well, NATO forces, essentially. So, and that continues, and now we have this Catapult magazine, German Catapult magazine, decided to measure this again in territory. You cannot explain to people, they are morons, essentially that believe only in territory. But just before we go to Catapult, here's Pokrovsk. It's the center of the city of Pokrovsk. Now it's back to Krasnoarmeysk. As you can see yourself, this is, I mean, it's all over the place. It's Russians control the now pretty much half of Pokrovsk, and they will control most of it pretty soon. As you can see yourself, yeah, this is the center of the city of Pokrovsk. They surrendered there in droves, and of course everybody wants to live, unless of course you are high on very strong drugs. And so this Catapult magazine, this German publication, decided to show you in terms of what Russians control in terms of the territory right now. And so first, it's not exact, obviously, but look at this. If you take a look attentively at what territories in terms of Europe, European countries Russians control. Here what they come up with, you can see yourself, in terms of Germany, it is obviously most of the, if not all southern Germany, Greece, yeah, all of it, half of the Italy, some Spain, a quarter of it to Turkey or something like that. So yeah, it's a European pastime. They are not very bright people there. They don't understand war, and they can only fight the people who cannot fight back. And yeah, but even this is an indication of how confused those people are. And I have to repeat constantly that the issue of 4 oblasts, Kherson, Zaporozhye, Donetsk, and Lugansk, is over. They will be back to, which is getting there, to the administrative borders which existed at the moment of the collapse of the Soviet Union and the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, and that's it. No matter what Trump says, and this is exactly what is going to be presented to him in Budapest, but for people who still do not understand, I suggest you to go to our good friend Larry Johnson, who is in Moscow, by the way, and having too much fun. I know. He sends me photos. And so the point here is that Larry absolutely correctly stated, and many people don't know, that Trump actually called Putin, and they spoke for 40 minutes. What they were discussed, yes, this is before that call of Vladimir Putin, which some people attribute to the fact that actually Zelensky didn't get what he wanted. Of course he didn't get what he wanted. There is no technical feasibility of that. And the reason I'm stressing this is because, as Larry, not without some justification, and we have to also constantly keep this possibility in mind, that actually it's a game. And that's Trump and Putin, well, Trump obviously in a very crude manner, as he does things, they play the Europeans, because there is a school of thought. I am not saying something new here. I was on record for this for many years, actually, that maybe, and there's a school of thought in Russia too about this, Russians and Americans are playing out for finishing off Europe. You say, how could this be? I mean, well, yeah, very well could be. And I again stated for United States to get out of this pickle, which it is now, it's declining. It's a horrendous economic and military state. We still have this situation, for example, with the government shutdown, up to the point that you have the people of the leading nuclear control agency in the United States, like top nuclear weapons agency, is on furlough. Most staff amid shutdown, and shutdown continues to the point that some private donors now are financing U.S. Army, U.S. Armed Forces, which is obviously a disaster. So, Trump has to have also some kind of the game for him to get something out of it, and that's going to be discussed in Budapest. But here is the funny little thing. And it's people say that it's not important. Well, I think it's important in the sense that it tells you a lot about the mindset of Americans and Russians in terms of, especially in relation to Europe. And that is why, for example, the change of tone of such people like Merz. Oh my God, we need to, find a peaceful solution. Of course you need to find peaceful solution. Russia offered this since 2014, 2015. Nobody wanted it, but then now the logic of circumstances is such, your SOB is done. The regime in Kiev is done, and nobody cares what happens after that with this territory, except for it's remaining the agricultural country in self-sustainment mode, just feed themselves. That's pretty much it. Russians are not gonna spend money restoring this basically crap hole of a country, which is now basically nothing more than the range for NATO for all kinds of the terrorist activities. So, for example, SVR and FSB already warned that MI6 and SAS there will be trying to blow up Turk Stream. They need to do something. For Europeans, if you look attentively at the situation with their governments, they, as many people correctly pointed out, I just, subscribe to every word of it, that in the end, for Europe, there's only one possibility, actually two, for their regimes. Either face civil wars inside Europe, or start the World War III, but they cannot fight the World War III. Europe are paupers militarily, they're insignificant, so they need to, drag United States there. Even United States there will help them, absolutely, in no way will help them, except for the United States basically escalating immediately to the nuclear threshold, precisely because United States is weak conventionally in military sense. But that's their plan. It's so, they are so desperate, and most of them, as many people correctly stated on my blog, for example, they deserve to be behind bars as the war criminals and criminals against humanity. So, but guess what? Here's the guy. His name is William Gilpin. He was the Civil War officer, and he later became the first governor of the Colorado Territory. Well, guess what? He was obviously the product of his time. He obviously was one of the guys who dealt with the issue of the Manifest Destiny. And what he wanted Denver to become the center of the, the world, in a sense, by, building all kinds of railroads, including his idea that at some point of time, and yeah, people had this issue where they believed very much into something which wasn't there, honestly, but he believed that you can build there a bridge between Alaska and Siberia, between Chukotka, and basically make the railroad line between Russia and the United States. Well, guess what? Those ideas, of course, at that time, they were nothing but vision, they were nothing but fantasy in many respects. But guess what? Suddenly, Mr. Dmitriev, who is Russia's envoy, Vladimir Putin's envoy, and he is dealing with the Mr. Witkoff, and they discuss all kinds of the economic possibilities for Russia and America to cooperate. So Dmitriev reveals that beginning of the timing of the development of the documentation for the tunnel to Alaska. Dmitriev, 6 months ago, work began on the justification of the tunnel to Alaska. The development of a feasibility study for the construction of a tunnel through Bering Strait, which would connect Russia and the United States, began a few months ago, said the head of the Russian Direct Investment Fund, Kirill Dmitriev. So they are really getting serious about it, and evidently they have even, even Elon Musk's father says that's a great idea, And so that's the idea of this tunnel. They say that it could be done for $8 billion. Okay, well, I don't know. Well, obviously the tunnel itself could be $8 billion, but good Lord, can you imagine? You need to have the railroads from, let's say, Seattle to Alaska through Canada, and then, of course, from Chukotka down to Yakutsk, at least where the nearest railroad branch, so to speak, reaches from the Baikal-Amur main line. So, is it feasible? Well, anything is possible nowadays. It's just given the effort and money and, strategic vision. Mr. Trump says it's good. He likes this idea. Elon Musk's father, he says it's wonderful. And when you begin to think about it, how else you can actually add something to this possible cooperation? And you think about, Russians have this huge plan of development of Siberia, which is being implemented. And obviously at some point of time, because of the enormous reaches of Chukotka, the frozen land, it's very difficult technologically to do proper railroad there. But maybe it will happen. So who knows? I don't know. But this is what is in plans now, and they are really serious about it. I mean, what can I say? Wow, it's really interesting. So, Godspeed, what can I say? So, but that's one of the ways, so to speak, Russians and Americans cooperate now. And again, I want to to state in the conclusion, because I'm really getting tired of it. Europe is done. Europe is over. And just to demonstrate to you how insignificant militarily it is. Well, here it is, French now. Oh yeah, there was this plan of this Eurodrone. It is a lumbering, gigantic turboprop, dual turboprop thingy with almost 30 meters wingspan. which is by the time it was designed, Germans wanted that thing to have 2 turboprops just in case they were afraid it can fall on their houses in Germany. This is useless type of the aerial vehicle, and already by 2015 it was obsolete. Well, France now leaves this program of the so-called Eurodrone because it's useless. For the modern warfare, this is a fat good target, and it will be shut down by any kind of the tactical level of the air defense complexes, such as Tor or Panzer, and yeah, what's the point of it? And it's $7 billion program. Well, guess what? It's bankrupt, not just in monetary sense. It is bankrupt ideologically, strategically, doctrinally, what have you. And France understood that it has to cut its losses and run. That's what French do really well. And so guess what? It quit. Because obviously, what's the point? They blew out, $7 billion, achieved practically nothing. And then suddenly they are sitting there with their, piece of that equipment, military equipment, which is obsolete. It's obsolete. It's not survivable in the modern battlefield, especially when you consider the situation with Russian air defense. And this is by far the best air defense in the world, by a mile, if not several miles. Simple as that. And this is what is happening right now, and I wanted just to give you a little bit of spread of those situations. And so, as you can see yourself, I mean, what can I say? Let's wait and see what's gonna happen in Budapest. But yeah, evidently Mr. Zelensky didn't get his Tomahawks. Wow. Didn't I tell you there's not going to be any kind of Tomahawks? So, but what can I say? And what do I know, really? So anyhow, this is what I wanted to tell you guys today. And as always, those who like what I do, please subscribe to my channel. And those who can afford, please support me on the Patreon or buy me a coffee too. And you know what? Have a nice weekend, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.